Hello, welcome. I'm Savalian. I make videos about games, development, and creativity. We've got another PlateUp video today, and this one is wild. So I've been kind of between games on my Twitch stream for a bit. So I've been playing the PlateUp Halloween event map, the Witch Hut, and I somehow got myself into a series of runs where I only pick the trick cards. The way the Halloween event works is that each time you choose a card, the one on the left side is a new dish and the one on the right side is a trick. These are things like starting fires, making messes, slowing you down, creating very specific rules for how you can do your tables. They're all pretty tricky. A couple of them don't really matter for single player, but most of them are like an actual challenge. And I just kept doing all tricks franchises, and then franchising, and then doing all tricks again. So this run is a tier 4 franchise where all the previous tiers have been only tricks. It is a burger restaurant, and it is on the Witch Hut Halloween map, which means that instead of the upgrade table, we have the enchanting table, which is a new addition this year and is pretty fun, but it has a couple of limitations. I actually forgot to run through the cards that I started with from the franchise, but what I have here is customers set fire to the tables when they leave, fires appear randomly throughout the restaurant, food burns faster at night, customers have less patience at night, the individual dining card actually gets overwritten by a different card, I have to wear slippers and I cannot swap them for shoes, I tried that. Players swap positions randomly, and this does nothing in single player. Customers can change orders at night. All groups have maximum number of people in them. Booking desks are automatic. They are always calling slowly throughout the day. Conveyor belts move more slowly, and leftover money is lost at the end of the day, so you cannot save up money with this card. So the trickiest part of this franchise that I've had to deal with since the very first restaurant is the fires. I've had the 2 fire cards, I think, since the very first tier of this franchise. There's fire everywhere all the time. I have to put out the fires to seat new customers. I can't cook if my cooking equipment catches fire. And if a customer gets caught on fire, it's basically the end of the run. Their patience drops so fast that you have to have a fire extinguisher equipped, and you have to immediately put them out, or it's like a 100% guaranteed end of the run. So to get around this, I've come up with a few tricks. First, do not put the tables close enough together that the flames can spread to customers or to other tables. This is how I lost an earlier run. If there's at least one space between a fire and the customer, it won't spread to them and you don't have to worry. So making sure things are spaced out enough so that no customers can catch fire is the only way to handle this. Also important to note, the largest size grease puddles can catch fire. I think it's just the biggest ones. I've never seen a small grease puddle catch fire, though I suppose it's still possible, but it's very important to stop the grease from building up, especially near the tables. And one mistake I made early on is when doing like an automation setup, if you try to pack it together too tight or put it in a corner, if the inaccessible part catches fire, you can't put that fire out, it will just keep spreading to the rest of the setup, just completely grinding your automation to a halt. So one thing I always do now is make sure there's a space to reach all of the pieces of the automation so that I can put them out if they catch fire and stop that spread, because it really is like there's nothing you can do. The fire starts to spread so fast when there's like 4 or 5 things on fire at the same time. I've also tried this technique of adding decoy furniture around the restaurant, spaced out by 1 square. So whenever the game is randomly adding fire, hopefully there's a chance that it will be put somewhere other than on my cooking appliances. And this kind of worked. It wasn't like a guarantee, of course, but it did. I had fires off in the distant area of the restaurant that just didn't matter. I could just leave that there and it was fine. And it's important to spread out the decoy furniture too, because otherwise it's just going to spread to the other decoy furniture and then there's just not going to be any left that aren't on fire. And the fires do not go out on their own. You have to put them out. It's not like a Sims thing where the furniture will burn up and then the fire will stop. It just keeps burning. And the thing that really helped me offset the difficulty from the trick cards is the enchanted furniture. So the enchanted dish rack is my favorite. And the way that it works is that it is like a normal dish rack, but it only has 3 plates instead of 4. And it cleans the plates automatically. And that's a lifesaver. So the enchanted broom is really nice too, especially if you have a trick card that adds messes. Unfortunately, the enchanted conveyor belts are kind of useless. I think this map would be perfect if there was an easier way to get grabbers, because the enchanted conveyor belts do not grab. The thing about them, the trick to them, is that they don't take up floor space, so you could walk over them, you could pass through them. They don't make your automation inaccessible, but since they don't grab anything, I don't really know what to use them for. They don't seem very useful at all. At the end of day 3, I got my first trick card for this run, and it's a bad one. Queue patience is never reset. I'll be honest, when I got this card, I thought, well, that's the end of the run for me. This is impossible. I've had this card in a previous run, and it seems unnecessarily cruel. This, I think, is the worst card, the worst trick card you can get. What happens is that the patients at the door, you know, the where they wait to get inside, once it goes down, it doesn't ever go back up. It doesn't go back up at the end of the day. It stays where it is for the rest of your run, and it only goes down. So you basically can never have anyone waiting at the door because it's just going to drain it, and that's going to kill you. So I thought this was a dead run for sure. I was pretty disappointed, but I kept going to see how far I could get. Just on the first day of having this card, I lost half the queue patience. I tried really hard, but without a fire extinguisher, I just can't put the tables out fast enough to get people seated. And I knew I needed to do something, or I would be dead next round. And one thing I have been afraid to do up until this point is use coffee tables, because I thought in my head, if a single coffee table catches fire, that's it. I can't put it out, it'll catch a customer on fire, and I'll be done. But since I got this queue patience trick card, and I was already doing pretty badly with it, I figured I could try a coffee table, and I didn't really have anything to lose because I thought I was going to lose anyway. And it actually worked. I think, thinking back on it, I think the tables can't catch fire because it wasn't even a problem. I don't think a single table caught fire aside from the customers doing it when they leave. And I think that was an intentional design for this reason, because it would just be really brutal to have a random table fire spread to the customer, immediate failure. Like, it just feels unfair. More unfair than, the random fires. So I got past my fear of coffee tables, but just in case, I placed them carefully so that they were at least one tile away from other coffee tables and also other furniture, just in case. Because I think the customers sitting at the coffee table can still catch fire from other furniture. I also have a franchise card that spawns new blueprints when I buy something, and I cheesed this a little bit because the holiday map has some blueprints that don't cost money. They're just for decoration, they don't give you any kind of bonuses. So I bought all the zero-cost holiday decorations that I could find, so that I could spawn new blueprints underneath them, and then I have the added benefit that I can use the decorations as like fire decoys, like I mentioned, so fire can spawn here and hopefully it doesn't spawn on my stove. I didn't really end up getting a lot of stuff that I needed this way, but it always helps to have another chance at a blueprint. I very quickly fell into this rhythm of getting the tables cleared as fast as possible. This This set of cards creates a very formulaic process. Feed the table, immediately put the fire out, pick up the dishes, repeat that until you win or you die. I prioritize the enchanted plate racks first because these make everything easier. And it's helpful to have two because then I'm never waiting for the cleaning to finish before I can clear that second plate on the table. The tables get cleared much faster. And with the booking desk calling in every group that there is, most of the tables were down to seconds. I had seconds to clear them before the people started queuing up. The next trick card I got was fairly harmless. Foggy food. Food satisfies a random table member. This probably matters if you have more than one dish, but since I've only been picking trick cards, all I have are plain burgers. It doesn't matter who takes it. This also renders the customers change their orders card completely harmless because even if they change their order, they still are getting the same thing because there's no other options. By day 7, I still didn't have a fire extinguisher, which is really bad. I tried rolling with no luck, but I was able to save a combiner to automate the burgers a little bit. The card that takes all your leftover money is really tough too, but the automatic booking desk actually helps with this if you can keep up with it, because you still get money for the automatic booking calls. On day 7, I thought I was gonna lose because I had a queue for a little bit, but I managed to clear it up. Once that little patience bar starts wiggling, by the way, and like turning red, it never stops. You just have to live with that urgency hanging over you for the rest of the run. By automating the buns, I was also able to clear a space near my cooking area. And when speed is so important, you'll see this with the turbo runs, with the speed runs, minimizing the distance you're walking is one of the most important things you can do. So this is very useful. If I don't have the buns here, I can put something else here, and then I can keep more useful things within this one square. And I believe I end up putting the fire extinguisher there once I was able to find one. I continued having very close calls. The queue patience doesn't start ticking down until they actually reach the door. So every time I saw someone coming up the path, I was just like holding my breath, trying to clear these tables as fast as possible to stop them from standing at that door. And once I was able to buy a fire extinguisher, things started going a lot more smoothly. I felt like this every single day, but if I hadn't got this thing at this moment, I know I would have lost. So like getting the fire extinguisher at this exact moment is what saved me from destruction. This entire run, honestly, I was hanging on for dear life. And I also wonder, because I think this would have been a really exciting run to stream, but if I was streaming it, would I have gotten distracted and slipped up? Probably. I don't know. There's no way of knowing. On day 9, once again, I thought I was doomed. The card I got is Grand Gesture. You can only have one table. I just kind of stared at this screen for a minute. I was sure, again. I thought the run would be dead. I was thinking there's no way. I can barely get the people in fast enough with 2 tables. I did get one more coffee table after rolling, but I didn't have enough money to buy it, so I had to really focus to get through day 10, get that extra wiggle room. I prepared the burgers in advance so I could serve the customers immediately when they were ready. Thankfully, they do give you that 15% customer reduction with every trick card. Unless it's a really bad one, then they give you -30. But I was just barely able to keep up. With so many trick cards active, I do have very few groups on even day 11. So this is the benefit of taking so many, is that it does reduce the customers to like a manageable level. But you have to remember, a lot of the franchise cards are plus 30%. So we're kind of playing this very careful balancing act. I grabbed enough decoration items to get the decreased thinking and eating time for the affordable theme. I figured that could only help, and it does end up coming in handy later. I also got a third coffee table, feeling pretty confident that it would save me. With the decoration bonus, at this point, people pretty much order and eat instantly. And even with that, I still did almost fill up the coffee tables. So, you know, day after day, we are right on that edge of like potential defeats, and I'm just barely pulling through. The card for day 12 was Tiring Times. Players move slower at the end of the day. This card is brutal for a lot of reasons. I am glad I got it so late in the run because I do have a lot of convenience things in place at this point that make it so I don't have to move that far. I have the burgers partially automated, so I can pretty much just stay in this little like 2-square section and everything's kind of fine. The slowdown does really mess with my button timing. My muscle memory for PlateUp is finally tuned, and so if the timing is off, if my character is moving a little bit slower than I expect, I end up missing and picking something up I didn't mean to, and it's a little thing, but it kind of stacks up, and if you get off of your rhythm, it can really mess with you. But, you know, we push forward. I also got a 4th coffee table. I was starting to run out of space in the dining area, keeping the spacing between them so they don't catch fire, but I managed to fit it in a little corner there. Day 13 and 14 both were pretty easy, honestly, and then on day 14 I got even more of a break. Because if the booking desk catches fire, it stops working, even with that automatic booking desk card. So you get a little break, but you also don't get the extra money that you would have from the booking desk. And when all my money goes away at the end of the day, it makes it really tricky to actually buy things. But I wasn't bombarded with customers non-stop. And it was actually kind of funny how easy day 14 was since the booking desk wasn't working. I kept feeling like I was missing something, like I should be doing things more, and that I wasn't, and that was a problem, but it was okay. On day 15, I discovered something about the Halloween map that I didn't know about, and that is the sharing cauldron. I had enchanted several dining tables in earlier runs, and I only ever got the stone table, which doesn't use the consumables. Like, it keeps them there forever. So I assumed that was the only enchanted table, because I got it like 3 or 4 times. Little did I know we've got this beauty, the sharing cauldron, which acts like a simple table but for up to 4 customers. I was afraid to change up my strategy on day 15, so I kept the table that I had, but don't worry, we're gonna come back to this one. The booking desk was working on day 15, so it did call in everybody. I messed up a burger or two, just getting frazzled, misclicking, and I had to queue at the door for a few seconds here and there, just draining any sort of buffer I have. The coffee tables were completely full for a good chunk of the day, and I was terrified. To lose at the end of day 15 would be brutal, but I managed to pull through, and there it was. A full run on tier 4 of only tricks on the Halloween map. Technically I did it. Technically this is what I wanted to do, but I wasn't done yet because what I really wanted at this point was to see if I could exhaust the trick cards, have one restaurant with every single trick card. So my plan was to keep going until I ran out of trick cards to give me, which does happen. I've never experienced this myself with the normal cards, but I saw it happen very early on with some like tier 10 franchises, and it was always something I wanted to see for myself because it's just so like wild. I did get an enchanted broom at this point, which is not super critical for this run, but it does help a bit. I could definitely feel that I was getting kind of like brain tired at this point. I kept messing up the order of my actions. I had been playing about an hour, just like non-stop. So I would do silly things like pick up the burger before the bun was added, or grab a plate instead of the fire extinguisher, and then I have to put it down. Fortunately for me, the booking desk did start catching fire more regularly. It's funny that that's like a good thing. But I did have some downtime, and at one point I actually went and put the fire out, which was a risky move because it filled up the restaurant almost immediately, but it ended up being okay. After that, I did decide to try out the sharing cauldron. I had never used it before. I get the concept. It lets everyone share the food, but it increases eating time by a multiple of 3. I thought I was being clever. I was gonna get the sharp cutlery so that they would eat faster. The problem is cutlery doesn't seem to work on the sharing cauldron. You can't see it in the water, but it kind of sits in there like an object, and it wouldn't let me put the food down. So no cutlery, but half the effort for the food for a table seemed better. I wasn't sure at first if it would pay off, and in the end, this is still kind of a gut feeling. I didn't time it or anything, but I think it's a better option. I think the time spent grabbing the extra burger and delivering it and then clearing the extra plate, I think saving those 2 actions is faster, but it's pretty close. It definitely felt easier, but I don't know if it was actually faster, like from start to finish. You know, getting the customers out of the table. I also started working on a slightly more automatic burger system. Because the buns arrive a little late on that first burger, I wanted to add a second conveyor to slow down the patties so that they wouldn't cook and then burn before the bun could be combined. This, so far, is the only use I've found for the levitating line, which is the enchanted conveyor belt. But it helped. It did help, technically, and it didn't bulk up my kitchen because you can just walk through the enchanted conveyor. I do think it can still catch fire though, so watch out for that. Overtime day 3 was extremely busy. The booking desk did not catch fire, so the restaurant was packed all day. There weren't any really close calls, but it was a challenging day nonetheless. Next, I got a trick card I've gotten many times before but never kept as part of the franchise, Mysterious Messes. This card continuously spawns messes, which can be, you know, there's a chance that they're harmless, but there is also a chance that they can be devastating if they're in just the wrong spot. If they're very large messes. I do have one enchanted broom, but if you play with this card for a while, I would recommend at least 2 brooms, one for the dining area and one for the kitchen area. And even then, the brooms tend to wander off like the robo mops do, so it's a good idea to get backup brooms if you can. From here, I kind of fell into a rhythm again. The many coffee tables is helping a lot. There is no way I would have survived even this long without any coffee tables, so I'm glad that I took that leap. I tried rolling a little bit more, but I wasn't really looking for anything specific. I was just trying to use up the money because it was going to go to waste at the end of the round anyway. On overtime day 5, I had another big scare. My tables filled up for a second and it brought the queue patience down to nothing. Like, I swear it must be like 0.5% full because you can't even see the green line. But I did it. I got the people out just in time. I don't know how I didn't die here, but I'm glad I didn't because I really, really wanted to see the end of the trick cards with my own eyes. I did finish the burger automation. It's not totally necessary and it is pretty slow because of the slow conveyor trick card. Like I said, it's not really necessary. The burgers cook very fast and they don't burn because of the combiner. But I just like automating things in PlateUp, and I thought it would be fun to get this working. My ideal PlateUp restaurant is one that is entirely run by conveyors, where I just like stand by and watch it all go. I just really like that. And if you're gonna suggest I play Satisfactory, I have. There's a lot of math in that game. I do like it, but you don't have to do a bunch of math in PlateUp to get everything working. I was extremely nervous on Overtime 6 because of the close call and the fact that I literally have no queue patience left to burn. Like, I can't let anyone sit outside at all, even for a second. I did move the extinguisher closer to myself, swapping it with the second plate rack, which I don't really need anymore, with the sharing cauldron. And this was a good call because I can need that extinguisher for every order, and I can swap it in and out really quickly. And one thing I didn't mention is that even though the fire extinguisher is like a tool that you hold, like the scrubbing brush, you can't pick up plates while you're holding it. You can only hold the fire extinguisher, and then you have to put it down before you can pick up plates again. The booking desk did not have mercy on me at all, and in fact, everything around the booking desk did catch fire for most of the day, but the booking desk itself refused, but I got through it. At the end of Overtime Day 6, I was greeted by a beautiful sight. No more trick cards. The game ran out of trick cards and started serving me up a new dish on both sides of the card selection. So I did it! I won, I got all the tricks, and I survived them. I survived them even for like an extra couple days past what I really needed to, because I was not sure how many there were, and I wasn't sure when they were gonna run out. But I did it, I've seen every trick, and I've conquered them. This was so much fun. I definitely would recommend this event if you like a little bit of a challenge. Here's a look at all the cards again. They nearly go off the edge of the screen because there's so many. And I'm just really proud of myself for finding ways to handle all these crazy changes to typical PlateUp gameplay. And shout out to the PlateUp dev for continuing to put out fantastic updates. You know, the trick cards were in from last year, but the enchanting desk was all new, and I think it did a lot to balance out the tricks in a way that kept the tricks challenging. It didn't counteract the tricks, but it made other pieces of the game a little bit easier. Like the automatic dish racks really helped, the neat tables really helped, the magic mirror, which I didn't use in this run, helped in some previous runs with table space. And I just think it balances out nicely because it lessens the difficulty in other areas while keeping the difficulty on the tricks. And it was a nice challenge that wasn't too punishing. But that's all for this video. If you want to play PlateUp for yourself, I believe it is on sale currently for the Steam Autumn sale. I think you have a couple days to take advantage of that. It is a fantastic game. I think it might be my favorite game, but I'm hesitant to pick a favorite game because there's so many. But the updates are all really fun. It's great in multiplayer and single player. And honestly, I wish the developer the absolute best. They are an inspiration, an indie inspiration, and I want to be like them when I grow up. But that's all I've got. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back soon with another video, and I hope to see you there. Bye bye!